Unbelievable.
I had them all reading in the tutus before the dance recital.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Okay, constitutingamerica.org. And the goal is to, it says here in Federalist Paper number 27, man is a creature of habit. Well, the Constitution is pretty much not even existent in our culture anymore. So our goal is to educate and bring an awareness about the Constitution and the Federalist Papers, which explain the Constitution to American citizens and students across America.
I think, and I can't remember now, I think I got this from de Tocqueville. Well, the first time I heard this was, and it took me by surprise, and you said it just a little while ago. People were talking about this in the taverns. Yeah. And I can't imagine walking into a bar now. I mean, as a recovering alcoholic, I try to avoid imagining walking into a bar now. But, and hearing people sitting up at the bar going, let me tell you something, that 17th Amendment, you'd be like, what world am I in? But that's really what they used to do.
They did.
And de Tocqueville talked about everywhere he would go, he would hear people talk. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. Was it de Tocqueville?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah. And everywhere he would go, he would hear people have deep discussions. That has stopped. If we start this,
like you're crazy. No.
if everybody was doing what she's recommending, and you have like a tutor or some.
Well, what we do is we're reading we read the Constitution in 5 days and the Federalist Papers in 85 days. And every day we read one Federalist Paper a day. We're on A30 now. We have a constitutional scholar, a professor from around the country. They come on and explain it. And then we have a national conversation where people blog and they discuss it. And you'd be amazed with thousands of hits a day. And then we have a contest for kids. Entries are due July 4th, which is best short film, best song.
Way to make it kind of cool.
To make it cool, yeah.
Yeah. I know I have a hard time. The Federalist Papers are difficult. I mean, the language is just a little difficult. Two questions. One, if we were doing this, would this change the fabric of America? Would it be a 180 turn? If we all started to really read the Federalist Papers and the Constitution went, oh, wait, would that change us?
The state of Louisiana actually requires by law that all students read the Federalist Papers. And I believe they don't mean a couple. I think they mean the 85 essays of the Federalist.
Reading it, though, isn't the same as reading it, living it, discussing it. Reading it by law, it's not going to work. Reading it by choice, that's different.
I think it would change the whole discourse in the direction of the country a lot, because Madison, among the other people, was very much driven by reason. And reason depended on having the facts in front of you and different opinions in front of you and then arguing them out and coming to a conclusion.
Washington said the battlefield of ideas, which we don't even do anymore. Well, let me ask you this one question. You're using the regular Federalist Papers, the original Federalist Papers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
People have told me, and I've never seen them before, that schools are using in modern language. Do you guys recommend stay away from that?
Absolutely not. It's like, how can you read Shakespeare without Shakespeare's
language? I don't really need to hear Shakespeare. I avoid reading Shakespeare.
Oh, that's too bad.
No, but I mean, it is difficult. Have you read the translated versions?
No.
Okay, I wouldn't myself, because I do believe in the original documents. But I didn't know if you had an opinion on that. You just say no.
Oh, I think you should read the original Federalist Papers. Take your time.
Yeah. And the quotes are fantastic. And they usually pull something out, and they're so relevant.
Yeah.
And we live it every day, and nobody in America realizes they live it every day.
I'm working on a book. I've been working on it for about a year now, and it comes out this fall, and it's about how to fix things. And it's amazing because I have about 25 people, this pool of about 25 people that I really think are just off the charts smart. And we sat around in a room, this is about 4 months ago. And I just shut my mouth. I told everybody, you just make suggestions. I want you to think about this for about a month, and then you come back and you make suggestions. And I sat and I shut my mouth and I just say, you, what's your idea? You, what's your idea? What's your idea? And I just made notes and just numbered them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Every single person, when they said their idea, I wrote their idea down, and then I wrote after it, founders did that. Founders did that. And I got to the end and I realized, you don't really have to, all you have to do is restore it. Because it was all there. We've just ignored it. Back in just a second. All right, we're back with Colleen Sheehan. She is the professor of political science at Villanova University. James Best is here. He is the author of Tempest at Dawn. And I want to go to the audience because we have a couple of questions. Go ahead.
I'm reading the Federalist Paper number 10, and in it he outlines, Madison outlines, how it's important to put factions and insurrection to bay. And the first thing he says is, well, it's easy if you get rid of the liberties that give them the life, but you absolutely can't do that. And I think that's something ironic today, because we're losing certain liberties.
It is amazing. I was thinking if, because I think there's a lot of people in America on both sides of the aisle that just are not going to sit down. And God help us if they ever get violent and things could spiral. It requires somebody like an Abraham Lincoln that would suspend liberties and then give them back. But that's a 1 in a million fine. You know, to have somebody to quash like that, you just don't do that. That's really dangerous. How does this system work when you have people gaming the system, playing the system, in the system? Is there any kind of escape hatch or a way to, without violating liberties? Is there anything to do, or is it all just public morality?
Well, I mean, I think public morality is not not a merely. It's everything.
It's everything.
Madison once said, and Lincoln said something very similar later on. Public opinion, Lincoln said, is everything. Without it, nothing can succeed. With it, nothing can fail. He who molds public opinion goes deeper than he who enacts statutes and legislation. He makes those statutes and legislation possible. It really is a government by the people. And this movement that we're seeing right now in the United States, for example, which has lots of different component parts to it and lots of different kinds of people, but this is truly a movement from the ground up. This is something we saw in pre-revolutionary America. Who knows where it'll end up? But the voices are being heard, and they're influencing public opinion. You mentioned in Federalist 10, which I'm really glad to hear that you're reading, but Madison said there's two ways to deal with the problem of faction. Remove the causes or control the effects. To remove the causes, you can destroy liberty. But that's the same way you get rid of the problem of fire. You destroy air, in which the cure is worse than the disease. Is that going on in America today? Diminishing the liberties of the people, and the people allowing it to be so. Unfortunately, yes, but there are a number of people now standing up and saying, that's enough of that. We are taking back our government, and I applaud them.
Let me go up to the top here. Go ahead.
Yeah, did faith ever play an important role in James Madison's life, when he had to make a decision?
Yes, faith was something very constant throughout his entire life. His teachers, when he was young, were both ministers and in college. And prior to putting together the Virginia plan, which he brought to Philadelphia, he was in constant communication with Reverend Dr. John Witherspoon.
Witherspoon.
Yeah,
Witherspoon. And he was getting advice from them. He constantly was pushing for religious freedom. But to him, religious freedom wasn't separation of church and state. It was the government staying out of religion.
Yeah, but let me get the government staying out of religion, and correct me if I'm wrong, we have so misinterpreted that.
Yes.
These guys, not all of them, but deeply religious, they serve the Lord. They thought they were seeing the finger of the Lord involved in all of this, but they fought for other religions. So in other words, what we've made is our religions are bigoted. You stay out of all religion because you're too bigoted. Christians are too bigoted to this. Some Christians even back then were bigoted. But all of these guys stood up for religions they didn't attend, they didn't agree with, but they stood up and said, you have a right, as long as you don't break my leg or pick my pocket. What difference does it make to me?
Freedom of conscience.
Yeah. Freedom to worship any way you chose.
Okay, back in just a second. Okay, America, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to get online. I'd like you to buy this book. This is James Madison by Colleen Sheehan, and this one is Tempest at Dawn by James Best. Read them. Start reacquainting yourself with the Constitution. And we will see you next week. Oh, by the way, don't forget, Faith, Hope, and Charity, our American Revival in Salt Lake City. You can see it. Get your tickets online at glennbeck.com.